So you want to know what are the best 5 dinos for solo players in Path of Titans. Now this topic may seem familiar because I did make a video on this a few months ago, but a lot of you guys have been telling me to make a more updated version of the top 5 best dinos for solo players due to all the recent changes, the nerfs, the buffs, and everything. And my opinions also changed on a lot of the dinos that we talked about back then. So in my last video, the 5 dinos that I said was best for solo players was the Barz, the Duck, the Eotrike, the Allosaurus, and the almighty T-Rex. Now since that last video, my opinion has changed drastically, and here is my new list of the new top 5 dinos that I personally think are the best for solo players. Coming in at number 1, we're still going to include the Barz in this list, mainly because the Barz is perfect for solo play. He is very tanky, very big, he has a good moveset. He has 1,500 max health, which is the highest max health in the game for any official dino. He has 7,000 combat weight, and after recent changes to other dinos, he now has the most combat weight out of every other official dino. He's the only dino now that has 7,000 combat weight, and the higher the combat weight, the more damage his moves will do to other dinos that have lower combat weight. For his moveset, he has a headbutt that does 55 damage, which is actually not that bad. For hide, they did give him a new Resilience Scales, which increases bleed and venom healing by 30%. The only issue is they used to have thick hide here and they apparently took it off, and I'm kind of upset about that. So you can't be as tanky as you want to because there's no more thick hide, but Resilience Scales is pretty good, I guess. And I know it may seem like he has a lot of moves, but a lot of these are actually empty, so I don't know if they're gonna add something in later on. Now this is where the moneymaker is. We have the Tail Slam, and the Tail Slam does up to 75 damage. And then you have the regular tail attack, which does 35 damage. And you can use these together. You could put 2 tail attacks on, which is pretty good. And then you have Rallying Call, which increases your defense of all party members. The second dino that I think is perfect for solo players is the Suko. Now I never would have said this back then, but after some recent changes to him, he's actually a beast, and I really like him now, surprisingly. He has 700 max health, which is actually pretty decent. He has 5,000 combat weight, which is kind of above average, considering the max combat weight is 7,000. Him being at 5,000 puts him in a very good spot. He has very good speed on land and in water, and he has decent stamina, so that's also a plus. Perfect for chasing down enemies, whether they run into the water or they're running on land, or running away from enemies if you have to retreat and go in the water yourself. He did get a few new moves since the last video. He has a bite attack that does 50 damage. He has two new senses here, Nictating Membrane, which allows him to see clearer underwater, or Drench Blows, which deals 10% increased damage to wet targets, which makes him really strong for aquatic battles or any dino that tries to leave the water and run away. Whether they're in the water or they leave the water, or even if it's raining, dinosaurs will become wet, which means you will be doing extra damage to them. For front limb, you have a claw attack, and this claw attack does 40 damage with 0.5 times bleed. Now for hide, you have Streamlined, which increases your swimming speed and turning speed by 10% in the water. And then you have Scales here, which you dry out much slower while on land. For legs, you have a new ability they gave him, increase swimming speed by 10% and decreases swim stamina drain by 20. So if you really want to become a full aquatic, you could put on every ability that makes him better in water, and you would be a monster. Next up, we have the Dasp, and the Dasp is definitely someone I consider a force to be reckoned with now after the recent update. He has 600 health with 3,500 combat weight. Now, although I wish his combat weight was a little bit higher, he's still actually very damaging with the new moveset that they gave him. So they did add a few abilities, and they changed up a few abilities. He has a bite attack that does up to 80 damage. That is one of the highest damaging bite attacks in the game. He has a Bone Snap, which does 60 damage and can do up to at least 30-second bone break. But the downfall is while this ability is equipped, you lose 15% running speed, which is kind of a nerf to the Bone Snap in general. And then he used to have a Crushing Bite, but they took that out and replaced it with a Heavy Bite, which is a strong but delayed bite. And this Heavy Bite can do up to 120 damage. One of the highest damaging attacks in the game for official dinos. For legs, you have Traction, which increases turning speed by 20, decreases stamina recovery by 30. I do not recommend that. And then for voice, you have Tyrant Roar, which increases the attack of all Tyrannosaurs in your group for 30 seconds. I'm sorry, for a minute within 30 meters. But you must be in a group for this to activate. So if you're playing solo, you won't be able to use this ability on yourself. You have to be grouped up with another dino. He also has a sprinting speed of 1080, which is actually pretty fast. So making it good for chasing or running away and traveling. Now this one might be debatable, but number 4 for solo players, I'm gonna say the Meg. The Meg is very fun nonetheless. He looks cool. He's very evasive. He's very fast. He's very like slippery, you know. He's hard to get when you're chasing him down, especially if he's like, let's say, running around trees like this and you're trying to chase him. He's easy to lose, and as a Meg, it's easy to lose other dinos that are chasing you by doing, sly maneuvers. The Meg has 650 HP, which is actually more health than the Dasp. He has a combat weight of 2,700, which is not that high, but considering how evasive he is and how much bites he can really get off without taking damage himself, he can still do a considerable good amount of damage. He has a sprinting speed of 1,100, one of the fastest sprinting speeds in the game. And that's why I'm saying he's very good for speed, for evasiveness, for chasing, anything. This thing is very versatile. So for head, he has a Venom Bite, which does 50 damage with 0.25 Venom. And Venom basically stops the other dinos' stamina from regenning and also makes the stamina drain a little bit quicker. For senses, they did give him 2 new abilities. One, Nictating Membrane, you can see clear underwater, or the Twilight Menace, where you gain 15% increased stamina regen during the nighttime. Twilight Menace can be really good for hunting at night. Imagine pitch black at nighttime and you're getting chased by Megs that have this on. Their stamina regen, they're going to be crazy to fight at nighttime. So if you're going to play with the Meg solo and you're going to do PvP, take advantage of when it's night. For hide, you have Streamline, which increases your swim speed and turning speed. Or you have Toxic Immunity, which you become immune to venom and poison, but you take 25% increased incoming damage. I don't know if it's worth putting that on if you're going to end up taking 25% more damage, so I probably would just stick with the Streamline. For legs, you have the Diving, where you can be able to dive underwater, and you get a 150% extra oxygen. Back legs, you now have Leap, which increases your jump height and decreases fall damage, or you have Web Feet, which increases swimming speed by 10% and decreases swim stamina drain by 20. So in addition to what I said about the Meg earlier, he's good on land, but he's also good in water. So if you ever do find yourself in a rare situation where you need to get off land because you're getting chased and you're getting cornered, find a lake, find somewhere you could swim, dive under, and you can really get away. That makes him more evasive. And then at nighttime, if you have Twilight Menace on, you can get your stamina back much faster. And for those of you Meg players out there, you guys know the Meg is very fun to play. One of the best, most fun creatures in the game. And then the last dino that I think is good for solo play is the Anno. And obviously, for obvious reasons, the Anno, which I'm going to do Is It Worth Growing series on this thing soon. Very soon. I had to put it on the list because he did get a few changes since the update. And even before the update, he was pretty much nearly impossible to kill if you were experienced Anno. Now he does have 720 max health, which is actually pretty high. That is more health than the Suko. He has 3,000 combat weight, which is not that high, but it makes up for it in a lot of different ways. Now let's go over the moveset. So for senses, they did give him a new Lone Survivor ability, which gives you a 10% armor increase and increased maneuverability when not in a group. This is perfect for solo players. If you plan on not being in a group, you want to put this on. It doesn't hurt to have it on for a 10% armor increase, and it doesn't have any negative side effects to it. For front limb, you have 2 new abilities as well. You have Strong Legs, which is where you take 40% less knockback. Then you have Traction, which increases your turning speed by 20, decreases stamina recovery by 30. Again, I don't recommend this ability on any dino until they fix it. For hide, you now have Resilient Scales and Tough Scutes. Increase armor by 25%, and if you put this on with the senses, you can get up to 35% armor, so keep that in mind. or you can just increase bleed and venom healing by 30%. For legs, you have Hunker Down, which is where you crouch in place for 5 seconds and it'll grant you extreme incoming damage resistance. This is the move that a lot of people considered brokenly OP, to where it was impossible to kill an Anno. Like, an Anno can basically kill 3 Rexes that are attacking him when he's in the Hunker Down ability. I don't know if they actually nerfed that itself, but as far as I know, it's still the same, and we can go over that more in the Is It Worth Growing episode when I do one on him. And then you have Fortify, which is where you crouch for 15 seconds. You also grant increased damage resistance and bleed resistance until uncrouching, and you're able to move around while you're crouched. For back limb, you have 2 new abilities that they gave him. Burly, which increases stamina regen by 20% and bone break healing by 20%. Then you have Paddle, which increases your swimming speed by 20%, swim stamina by 30%, and oxygen by 30%. That can be good as well. And then for Tail, you obviously have the 3 tail attacks. So you have the regular tail attack, which is small damage, low bone break. And this one does 35 damage with at least 4-second bone break. Tail Slam is where the real damage comes in. Does a slamming motion with your tail, causing high damage. And that high damage is 130 damage. That is why he is so strong when you mix that up with his Hunker Down ability. So that's definitely one of the tail attacks you want to put on. And then you have a charged up Bone Snap tail attack, and this can do up to 20 damage, but at least 40-second bone break. That is a long time to be bone broke. So if I had to personally choose, I would probably do the Bone Snap and the Tail Slam. It depends on how you're going to play PvP wise, if you're going to be more aggressive or not. But yeah, that is my top 5 best dinos for solo play. If you guys agree or don't agree, I would love to hear your list down below. Give me the 5 dinos that you think is best for solo players. And like always, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. Let me know what type of videos you want me to do next in the future. And make sure you subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.